All right, so let's talk ethics about stock photography real quick. And when it comes to ethics with stock photography, for me, really, I think of two different categories. The first is using people in your photos. When we're doing editorial content, we don't need permission from people if they're in a public place to take their picture. Now, that can be a little dicey, right? People may not consent to us using their pictures, right? And I think I think this kind of varies based on the photographer and based on the person. For me, as you can see right here, I have a few pictures. I have a few pictures of Franklin Barbecue. This is probably the most famous barbecue in the city of Austin. There's always this 2 or 3 hour line outside, and these pictures have done very well for me. But what's interesting about these pictures are they are full of people. These pictures tell a story, right? There's this picture of Franklin Barbecue sign, which can be used for anything. This is a very informative picture. This is not a picture that tells a story. But these other two pictures show, hey, this is a very popular restaurant. This is a restaurant that people spend hours in line at. I think there's even people in chairs in this picture. And people spend hours, and yeah, people in chairs. People spend hours just waiting for this barbecue. So this is a more interesting picture because it tells a bit of a story. But none of these people signed any sort of release, were aware of this picture being taken, are even aware that it's currently online for sale. Now with editorial content, that is okay. For me personally, I think a picture like this is totally fine. I think if I had taken a tight picture of maybe just 1 or 2 people in line, to me that's a little bit more intrusive than this picture of a group in line for this barbecue restaurant. But again, everyone's line is different. This is a sort of gray area. Editorial content allows for it. Now, commercial content, if we were trying to sell this as commercial content, you would have to get a waiver filled out from every person in that picture. And the basic rule is if a person is able to identify themselves in a picture, you need a release from that person for commercial content. So it's not, if you see a picture and you're like, well, no one could tell that it's this person, if that person themselves can tell that it's them, you need it. So the line is a little bit further than you would think. But again, for editorial content, this is okay. So that's the first area of ethics that need to be discussed with stock photography. The second area is probably not for a ton of you, but for the ones who are photographers or videographers who are watching this. If a client hires you for a gig and you go out and you film a bunch of stuff or you take pictures from a bunch of stuff, are you allowed to use that and put it on stock photography websites? Now, again, this is a gray area, especially because the vast majority of gigs in this space, you're not filling out contracts. You're not talking about the specifics of the deliverables. There's a lot of gray area here. Now, if I'm making a video for somebody, I'm giving them the video, right? They are not buying the raw footage from me. They are buying the video from me. So this is definitely a gray area. My personal stance on this is that I don't like to use any of the footage that has gone into the final product, right? I'm making a video on, let's say I'm making a video on barbecue restaurants. If I have any of this footage from Franklin Barbecue, if any of the footage makes it into the final product that I'm delivering to the client, I wouldn't use that in any of my stock photography, stock video stuff. However, if I go out and if I'm making a 3-minute video, I probably have 45 minutes worth of footage that is not in that video. And so clips that are left on the editing room floor, I think that they're okay. Again, I'm not signing any contract that says, the limitations of this footage. I'm not selling the raw footage to the client. I'm selling them the videos. So I think it's okay to use clips that are not included in the final product. However, if if this product involves a heavily featured subject, a person, an actor, or an interview subject, I wouldn't include them in any of the stock photography, stock video stuff, because that person has not, signed off on that. And so that's where I would draw the line. So for me, I say that as long as the footage is not in the final product, as long as the footage does not feature prominently a person who doesn't, know what they're getting into, as long as those two things are okay, for me, I think it's fine to put on stock photography. Now, for other people, they may think that that's not okay. They may think if a client hires you, you can't use any of it. And then for other people, they might think, well, you can use all of it. So there's really kind of, again, a gray area here that you just kind of have to think to yourself, what's right for you, what's legally right for you. And when you're not signing contracts and stuff, it's a gray area.